Well, good morning, mighty mini truckers, and welcome back to our channel.
Samson, the mighty sandbar.
Hey, and thanks for stopping by. We really appreciate it. Well, today is turning out to be a beautiful day here in the mountains of North Carolina. The sun is shining, blue skies, a little bit crisp outside, but otherwise just a beautiful day. And of course, since it's a beautiful day, look where I am. I'm back in the garage. That should tell you something. That's going to tell you that we're going to be working on Samson today. In our previous video, I mentioned that what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be replacing Samson's factory OEM radio. Typically, when these K-trucks come into the States, if the original owner in Japan didn't swap out the radio, what you're going to get is you're going to get just a basic AM radio. And the frequencies over in Japan are different than they are here in the States, so you're not going to get a lot of channels with this radio. And that's not going to cut the mustard for me. So what we're going to do today is we're going to replace Samson's OEM factory radio with a new to Samson, but a used radio that I picked up off of eBay. Since we're basically just going to be using Samson as a utility vehicle, in other words, we're just going to use him as, to do chores on the property. We might drive him to the hardware store. We might have to go to the lumber store, to the lumber yard. So, he's not going to be a daily driver for me, and he's not going to be a long distance driver for sure. So all I really need is just a basic AM, FM radio. Now, there are a couple of reasons why I didn't buy a new radio. Like I said, I just need a basic radio. I really don't need the USB port. I've got ways of handling that. I don't use the Bluetooth on my phone, so I don't stream music through the radio. So what I did was I did a little bit of research, and what I found was that I could actually buy a 2003 Subaru Legacy radio that just has AM, FM. This one does have a weather band on it, which, yeah, a little bit helpful, but maybe not that helpful. But anyway, but I was also just wanting a CD player. I've got hundreds of CDs from the 90s to the 2000s that are quite good. So that's what I'm going to listen to if I'm going to listen to something for a long period of time anyway. Now, I do know that you can buy a used, I think it's also a Legacy radio that's got a cassette player. Now, if you wanted to, you could get the cassette adapter for Bluetooth, pop it in, and then you could stream. There are still plenty of these units out there, so they're pretty easy to come by. Now, of course, when you buy from eBay, the main thing is you want to make sure that you're buying from a reputable seller on eBay. Plus, you want to make sure that you get some kind of a guarantee. On this unit, I got a 30-day guarantee. Now, the other nice thing is I only paid $13 for this radio. Now, I paid $14 for shipping, so the total was $27, but that's still pretty reasonable. Well, now that we've gotten the information over with on why I bought this particular unit and why I bought it off of eBay, let's go ahead and get started. So sit back and relax, buckle up, and let's go. Now that Samson's inside the garage, which will place me closer to my tools, which aren't a lot of tools, all you're basically going to need is a flathead screwdriver to remove that front faceplate. And then you're going to need a long Phillips head screwdriver in order to remove the 3 screws that hold the radio in place. There's been a lot of discussion about whether or not you need to disconnect the battery. You really don't need to. It won't blow any fuses. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave as is and start removing. So like I said, the first thing we're going to do is we are going to remove the front faceplate, or what they call the bezel. I'm going to try to do this one-handed. I've already popped it loose, so that shouldn't be too hard. But you just want to get behind there. There's one snap here and one snap on the left and one snap on the right. And what you want to do is you just want to push down where those snaps are. The only tricky part is there's 2 more snaps right back in here. So what you want to do is you want to go behind that plate Now it's a, it's a little flimsy, a little bit hard, but don't worry about breaking it. Just be careful with it. Go back behind there, and I always start with one side, pop it out, and then the other side will just work freely. But all you want to do is take that front bezel off and pull it out. Now, as you can see, I'll show you those locations. Like I said, up top, you've got one snap here. There we go. Another snap here, and then the other snaps are one right there and one there. And then you've got two snaps to the rear that just actually, they're not really snaps, they just slide right into the holes that are back there to hold it in place in the back. Okay, next, we're going to unscrew this screw right here, the sales head screw right here. And you've got one on the right and on the left. And I don't know if you can see it back there. Let's see if I can get in there. There's another one to the rear that holds it in place. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start with the rear one and then move to the front. And I'll go ahead and remove those now. Now that I've removed the 4 screws holding the radio in place, I'll go ahead and remove the radio. I'll have to lift the radio up just a little bit so the back screw tabs on the mounting bracket will clear the dash. The next thing to do is remove the mounting brackets. Both of these are secured with 2 Phillips head screws. I'm definitely going to hold on to these brackets along with the screws because I'll need them for the new radio installation. To fully remove the old radio, I've already gone ahead and removed the wire harness plugs. You do this by pressing down the tabs at the rear of the plugs and just pull them rearward. Antenna cable is actually attached to the radio. I can either disconnect it from the male or female connection that's underneath the steering column, but since I'm not going to be reusing this radio, I doubt anybody would want it, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut the wire. Now that we have the old unit out, I'm going to go ahead and show you the 2 connectors that actually go into the radio. The one on the right is for the speaker. As you can see, there's only 2 wires there. You've got basically white with the red line and white with the black line. The white with the red line is your positive, black's your negative. And on the other side, you've got some wires here. I'm going to have to do some testing to figure out what goes to what. We'll get that done here in a minute. But anyway, I thought this was going to be a plug and play, but actually it's not. These plugs don't match up with the new unit. So there's a couple things you're going to need, and I'll show those to you just here in a second in order to get this radio to the new radio in and get it functioning. In order to install this particular radio, we're going to need a couple of different things in order to make the installation. Now, if you decide you want to keep the original antenna, you're going to have to get an antenna extension cable. Now, you want to get one with the male end, one with the female end. Now, this particular one is 12 inches. I got it off of Amazon. It's made by Anina. It was about $10. Now, the second thing we're going to need is we're going to need a wiring harness. Okay, and this particular one is made by Metra. It's the, let me get it closer, 718901. Now this plugs into the back of the radio, and as you can see, I've already taped off the wires that I won't be using. Now I always like to go ahead and label the wires that I will be using with tape. This way I don't get them mixed up and have to go back in and of course rewire everything. This just gives me a little bit more help for the installation. Now, whatever you do, do not throw away this plastic packaging, because on the back of it, it actually gives you the different colors of wires and what those different colors go to. You'll need that in order to make the installation do it properly. Before I install the wiring harness, and in order to plug that into the back of the radio to get it installed, I'm going to go ahead and install the speaker wire that I missed in the last video. As you can see, I've already taken the speaker cover off and I've removed the new speaker. And I've also removed the glove box unit. Just makes it a lot easier to get back in there and zip tie wire in. All right. Went ahead and took my tester, and all I did was use one of these nice little light testers to determine what wires are which. And what I found out was that if you look to the left here, right here, this white with the red stripe, that's your battery. That's the one that's hooked straight to your battery. That's what helps your, keeps your memory going as far as your stations and your clock. The red and blue one right here, next to the white and red, that's your illumination. So whenever you cut your lights on, that's going to illuminate the screen on your radio. Now, the blue and red one, that's what hooks to your ignition. Whenever you turn your ignition on, that's what's going to cut the radio on. And then you've got two black and reds, and those are actually those are ground wires. So we're going to pigtail those together and hook those into the ground wire on the harness. Well, the new to Samson but used radio is now installed. Didn't have too many issues. The only issue I had was with the wiring harness. Once you clip that plug off, you don't have much wire to play with back there as far as trying to strip it. So that was kind of a little bit of an issue, but once I got that done, all I had to do was, hook them all up and didn't really have any problems. Everything didn't blow fuse, but everything seemed to work just fine. Went ahead and put a CD in and it played just fine. I'll go ahead and turn it on for you just so you can hear it, but I don't have any music to play on it because, of course, I don't have anything that's not copyrighted, so I don't want to, get involved with any copyright infringement. But all you're going to hear is static, but at least you can tell it does work. And as you can see, the digital display comes right on up. Both the passenger side and the driver side speakers are working, they are functioning. Now to install it, you just install it in reverse. The only thing I can tell you is don't forget to put those mounting brackets back on. They do work. They fit right. In fact, all the holes match up, and you can just screw those right on without any problem. And as you can see, the faceplate didn't have any issues with that. Didn't have to modify it at all. So it slipped right back in and popped right back into place. So that concludes the installation of the radio in Samson. Well, folks, that concludes today's video. Now Samson has a brand new and used complete sound system, and believe me, it makes a heck of a big difference between this sound system and what was originally in them. Of course, with two speakers, that helps. But of course, these speakers are rated at 240 watts, which maybe they could get to that with an amp. But right now they sound perfectly fine. These cabs are so small. It sounds great. I have no issues at all with this. This install cost me a little bit over $75, but hey, it is a big improvement. Well, if you have any questions or any comments, just leave them in the comment section below. Hey, and don't forget to smash that like button. Hey, and also, please subscribe to the channel. That helps us out a lot. Oh, and don't forget to ring that notification bell. Don't want to miss out on any of our new content. As we always say here on the channel, get outside, enjoy the great outdoors, be safe, and happy trails. Ciao.